Morning, ladies and gents. Casual Gaming Dad here, and today I want to talk about Project Diablo II. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's it's a mod that the whole point of it was as if Diablo II had continued development. So they took some of the best things about D2 and enhanced them and/or kept them the same, and then took some things about it that really needed work that lots of building community have asked for example, a loot filter, right? Made older items like uniques and whatnot better, more relevant, especially following Order Destruction, right? Nerfed some really powerful rune words to be good, but just not OP or just kind of broken. For example, Spirit, it gives +1 to skills instead of +2, right? And so on and so forth. So just, again, continuing development of the game as if it never stopped. And I wasn't sure what I was going to think about it. My first time I tried it was actually in Season 11. Season 12 just started here at the end of November. Tried it in Season 11 for a bit, played with my son, and was pleasantly surprised that I ended up really liking it, despite the fact that it's not D2R, it doesn't have the enhanced visuals, but it still looks pretty crisp. Like, they did a pretty good job, and ultimately it's not just about like the way a game looks, right? It's the way it plays and how it makes you feel when you play it, right? So this game definitely made me feel like playing D2 back in the day, in the early 2000s, and it's just better though. And so I'm just gonna talk a little more about that and why I feel it's probably the best way to play Diablo 2. Barring Diablo 2 Resurrected, if you really want to play it untouched. But I'm just not really sure why I would do that anymore. It doesn't really make sense after playing Diablo 2 for just thousands of hours. I know, like, people like Mr. Llama C, and there are others too that still like to play it, but I don't know. When you got something like Project Diablo 2 out there that actually makes changes, so you know, the last time we got something meaningful from Diablo 2 Resurrected was, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was early last year. Is that when we got? Is either early last year or maybe it's been longer. Maybe it was the year before where we got the martial arts assassin updates with, gosh, that rune word is escaping me at the moment, but the really overpowered one that brought in another S tier build, right, with the martial arts, it was very cool. I mean, I played it. It's pretty awesome. It's just it would sometimes crash the game because it's just overload. But I think that was the last like really meaningful update we got. That and the terror zones, which great additions, right? I mean, honestly, really great. And Project Diablo 2 has something similar to the terror zones, right? But PD2 is always making new changes. And I'll just give you an example. For Season 12, we have unique quivers and bolts. And not only uniques, but even the regular ones have some minor stats on them. You can get them magical, you can get them rare, and you don't have quantity is not an issue anymore. So I don't know how long that's been the quantity part, but yeah, I mean, I could keep going, but I'm going to focus more on some of the bigger changes that give it more longevity, as opposed to D2, whereas like right now, if you really want to keep playing D2, other than just playing it again for nostalgia, to try to get that dopamine hit when that bear rune drops, once every 1,000 hours or whatever, you really can only do a holy grail. Like, that's the only thing you can do. And if you've done a grail, then you can do other things. Like, I think Mr. Llama is doing in he made some new modifications to his grail. I think it's an ethereal grail. Like, he has to find everything that can be found ethereal. I mean, that's just a way of saying, like, okay, I'm gonna play this game till I'm dead. Because that theoretically is possible, but not likely. It's not likely. It's and I know he's been doing it for a little bit now, and not too long, but early on the Grail, you find so many of the items, and they're just dinging, 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 dropping those items, and eventually you get to 90+% of the Grail done, and you're just going to go months without seeing anything. I mean, it's just that rare, right? So PD2, the leveling is pretty much the same. Right now, my son and I are playing Season 12, and I'm trying to think if there's anything during the campaign. There are some areas that I think were a little harder, so the difficulty's been adjusted a bit. So, for example, like Blood Raven, for some reason in normal mode, is such a pain, but worth it because you get the Aquan Merc, and that leads me to talk about one of the big changes that I really like that they did. Not only so your Mercs, you can put more gear on them than you could before. You cannot put jewelry, but you can put everything else. So you can put gloves, you can put boots, you can put belts, chest armor, helmet, weapon. In the case of an Act 1 Merc, you can also put a quiver, and you can put rare, you can put unique, right? So, like, I found a unique one that had, among other things, enemy fire resist penetration, and that's really good because I chose the Fire Act 1 Merc that I've been using this whole time, because she's got a Vigor aura. And so, yeah, they gave pretty much every Merc in the game, and in addition to adding Act 4 Mercs, a special ability, either an aura or a skill. So, for example, one of the Act 5 Mercs, there's two barbarians. One of them does battle orders, and I think the other one, does it have might and battle cry, something like that, maybe? I think one of them has battle cry, and I think it has might. I think so. The Act 2 Merc does not have that anymore. So now the Act 2 Merc is not the only one with auras. The Act 1 Merc has either meditation, vigor, or it has that one Amazon skill that reduces defenses. Can't remember the name of it right now. Act 2 has, let's see, I think they're prayer, defiance, and blessed aim. So they're kind of, two defensive, one offensive, I guess, for blessed aim. Act 3 has a fire, a lightning, and a cold Merc, and they each have, again, different abilities. I think the lightning one has static field. I'm trying to remember. I haven't used them. I mean, I looked at them, but I haven't used them this season, so I can't remember. The Act 4 Mercs are different. One of them has like amp damage. I'm trying to remember. There's two of them. I can't remember what the other one has, but it's really, really great to see ingenuity like that. I mean, it's those like things that are really meaningful and impactful, because now you're looking for better gear, and you can honestly, all of the Act Mercs are viable, all of them, and that's really just what we want to see. I mean, for the most part in D2R, only the Act 2 is. I mean, sometimes the Act 1. Sometimes you can justify doing that. You can put insight on it if you want. Uh, and I think there's a rune word. I forgot. I think it's called Faith, the one with fanaticism, right? So you can, but Act 3, no. Act 4 doesn't have a Merc, and Act 5. I mean, sometimes, some builds put like Lawbringer or Plague on it, but I mean, it's just way more interesting this way. And I think that they're all pretty equally viable. And it's great, especially when you're playing in groups. It's just really nice. You know, like my son is using the Act 2 Defiance Merc right now, and I'm using the Act 1 Merc Viger. It's just, I love that the Act 1 Merc has a Viger option. To me, that's just so great for Viger and Meditation, both really good things early on. Meditation for the mana, if you're playing a caster build, that's really great. And Viger if you just want to move faster through the campaign. I just love that, you know. So honestly, really great. We don't really need the meditation because we're both doing druids. I'm doing creepers, so creeper summons, and he's doing regular summons. So you don't really need to use mana too much, you know. I mean, he casts the ravens, but that's it. So okay, I'm rambling a little bit. So the Mercs, big change. Campaign is very much untouched. It's the same. Lots more items. Definitely a lot more items added. I mentioned updates to a lot of items, including lower level ones. You know, like we found the unique. What kind of mail is it? Scale mail. I think it's called like Hawk's mail or something like that. And I mean, before it, I think it had cannot be frozen on it, which I believe it's, which is okay. But now it can roll +2 to 3 to Raven. And so for early on for a druid, so my son found that and put that on because he's using Ravens, and I mean that's really great. That's a nice boost, you know. And I also mentioned they added new rune words, and they also made changes to some, you know, some stats that just don't make sense anymore. You know, so they got rid of quantity, so they got rid of like, you know, repairs quantity, or, you know, recovers quantity every so often. And there's a whole bunch of stats that I'm sure if I went to the wiki page again, which I usually have open to look at, I would remember a lot more of them. But right now I'm driving, so it's kind of hard to remember that. But I mentioned Spirit, it's +1. Enigma got changed. It adds teleport still, but you can, I think it's the way it works is it adds a teleport charge, and you can hold up to, I think it's 5 charges, and one charge replenishes every, or maybe it was like every 5 seconds you get a teleport charge back, something like that. So essentially, oh, I know what it was. It's not teleport anymore. It's called blink. And so they basically just made it so that it's still really good and it's still usable, but you can't just spam the blink, right? You can't just non-stop do that, right? One of the other things they did was they gave pretty much every class a movement skill. The druid has something called Gust, teleports you to a location. The necromancer has Blood Warp, I believe it's called. Costs you a little bit of life, but it's just like teleport. The paladin has a move called Joust, which is similar to, I think it's Dragonflight for the assassin, which the assassin has Dragonflight. The barb still has Leap, which they made a little bit more useful and actually viable to play. So, and then the Amazon, I think the Amazon has a move too. I think so. But I really like that they did that they gave everyone the opportunity to do that. Obviously, the Sorceress's teleport is still really good and definitely viable, but they increased the cooldown. so they added cooldowns to those. You know, they start at like around 6 seconds, and as you put points into it, the cooldown goes down. And I believe if you get enough like plus to skills and skillers, you can get it down to like half a second, right? So that's pretty great, you know. But you have to invest into it, right? So you're not going to just get a free teleport by just getting Enigma or whatever. So while you can, and Enigma is still really good, you know, it's not going to be just like OP broken. Okay, so that's really great. I mentioned obviously updates to a lot of items and rune words. They removed some things from the game. One thing that comes to mind is there's not a lot of life percentages. So like battle orders, Oak Sage give you plus to life. They don't get like a flat amount. They don't give you percentage anymore. They thought that was a little too good, which I would like, you know, because then everyone was using CTA, and now it's like, well, you can use it, and it'll definitely make you tankier, but it's not as powerful, right? But for example, Oak Sage, which I'm using, also gives you like a healing every so often, right? So like a replenished life of sorts, you know. So and that builds up with each level. So that's really great, right? So they found other ways to enhance them. You know, there's a lot of skills. They made a lot of great skill change updates. They even made some adjustments to where the skills are on the trees. So, for example, for the barb, Warcry, if you're leveling up, if you want to level up as a singer barb, you can. Warcry is level 6 skill instead of a level 30 skill now. They put double swing as a level 1 skill instead of a 6. Frenzy is level 6 instead of 24. And double throw, I think, is where it used to be, but it goes double swing, frenzy, double throw if you want. There's some other adjustments too. I'm trying to remember. But I mean, those are just some examples, right, for that. Another example with the barb skill they made a change to. Battle command. I mean, you would always put 1 point into it, and then whatever your plus to skills would do, it would give you, because it gives you plus to skills, and you would just get more duration, right? Well, battle command now gives +1 to skills, and it gives damage percentage increase for you and your party, right, and your minions or whatever. And in addition to that, and this is a theme they did with a lot of skills, not just this one, but when you put every 10 base points, so every 10 actual points, not pluses from like items and whatnot, that you put into it, gives you another plus to skills. So if you put 20 points into it, it now gives you +3 to all skills. And so on top of that, it gives you damage percentage. So, I mean, Battle Command is amazing now. Like, I love it. And it's a level 30 skill. It's actually worth putting into, you know? And, you know, if you're doing a Singer Barb, you'll probably do, you know, Battle Orders still. But it just makes it like, okay, Battle Orders is good, but it's not something you necessarily always want to max out, whereas before you definitely did. Well, they just replaced with Battle Command. Not necessarily, I mean, but if you want more damage, then yeah. If you want more tankiness, then you take Battle Orders. So you can't really do both anymore. But the point is now you have options, and now it makes sense. Like, do you want to be tankier, or do you want to do more damage, right? You want more plus skills, right? So another great thing they did, they just wide open for pretty much every summon build. You can have multiple summons now. So for the druid, I mentioned my son was doing summons. You can have ravens, you can have wolves, you can have bears, you can have all of them. And on top of that, they made it so you can get more of each. And, you know, just like with Battle Command for the bear, every 10 points, or wait, Maybe it's not every 10 points. I think it's after 20 points you get a second bear. But there are items that add the ability for you to get more wolves and or bears. I think there's an item that gives you like 2 more bears. You get up to 4. That's crazy. I played a fire golem, sorry, not just fire golem, but a golemancer last season with the necromancer, and I could have up to 5 golems. I mean, that was so amazing. It was so much fun, right? And you could have, you could have skeletons too and revives and everything. But I mean, I was focused mainly on golems, so I would usually do like a clay golem and 2 or 3 fire golems, and the remaining would be blood golem, like at least 1 blood golem, because blood golem did physical damage, fire golem did fire, and clay golem was good for that. It does crushing blow. That's the crushing blow. Blood golem has open wounds damage, which they added open wounds damage now. It's like items and skills. Even a barb has a passive called open wounds, where it gives you a chance to open wounds, and it does open wounds damage, right? So it's a bleed. So you can have bleed builds now. So there's just so many cool ideas that they came up with. They've added to the game, and I have no doubt they'll continue to add it. I believe this is the 5th year anniversary of the mod, and they're on season 12. And I mean, I've only played it again since season 11, but they've added so much. It's so obvious how much whoever these people are, they love this game, and they just wanted to make it more fun and more playable. And I haven't even gotten to some of the other big things too. They added a lot more bosses you can kill. They added more cube recipes, including a stone called a world stone, like a world stone like chip. It's like a piece of the world stone, and you can cube it with anything and corrupt it like a Val orb in PoE, right? So they added that. And in addition to that, they added basically mapping from PoE, right? So they took some elements of PoE's endgame and put it into this game. So they added new bosses for you to kill. They made declone harder. Ubers, I think, a bit harder as well. I haven't done them yet. And more bosses too that you can fight. So the point is, there's a lot of endgame activities you can do. And as opposed to, I guess we're just doing bail runs or doing a grail, and that's really all there's to it in D2R. There's not much else, or just, I'm just going to make a new build. So what's really cool about this is, again, the replayability the game gives you, and I'm just really liking it in that regard. And I know that there's still so many items and so many different builds that are now available and viable. Like, I mean, even ravens are good now. They do cold and physical damage. Yes, there are still immunities in the game. There's no Sunder Charms, but they made it so a lot of skills, if you invest points in them, can break immunities. So, for example, my Poison Creeper, I think at the level it's at now, I think it's minus 28%. It does poison resistance. So it depends on their resistance, right? So if they have 105 resistance to poison, then I can break it, right? If they have 130 or more, where I'm currently at, then I can't break it. And not only that, there's lots of items and stats that show up more now on items, including rares, which make rares even more interesting than they already were in Diablo 2, right? And you can find minus to enemy resists on items, like a bunch of things, And not only that, but there's a lot of stats that you just couldn't find before on certain items that are now available. And it makes sense, like where they place them. It makes sense that you can find certain things on certain items, And enemy, penetrating enemy resistances is just one of them. So I'm really impressed with this game. And I think that it's just another one on my docket, that I'm gonna play. I think it definitely replaced D4. if not for the moment, forever. I don't know what to say about D4. I'm just really not at all. I mean, if I were to play it, it would be just because, really because friends want to play it, but I really don't think I want to invest more time into that game. I've already put a good amount of money into it too, and as much as it's kind of just junk food gaming, I mentioned that in another video. It's really what it is. I mean, not to say you can't enjoy it, but, so please, don't be upset if you enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure I could have fun, right? But just for a very short-lived period of time. Whereas PD2, I mean, I could play it for a lot more than that, 30, 40, 50 hours, and still want to keep playing it, right? And make other characters and keep playing it. So, yeah, I mean, you guys should, if you still own D2, right, you obviously need a copy of D2 to play it. Check it out, Project Diablo II. Honestly, it's impressive. It really is. And as a longtime D2 vet, that's a lot. That's a lot for me to say. I really D2 is probably the game that I've played more than any other game in my life. I am 99% sure of that. You know, so I think I could say that I know what I'm talking about. uh, D2 has been. It's funny, even though I obviously played D2 way more than like a game like Diablo 1. Diablo 1 to me is kind of where it all started, and it's probably my favorite of all of them. And it's funny, I didn't even play D1 when it came out. I was not playing ARPG. I didn't know anything about it. Diablo 2 is my first one, but yeah, Diablo 1. I don't know. I could talk about that in another video maybe, but Project Diablo 2, guys, and well, ladies and gents, great game, great mod, lots of community support. A lot of streamers recently tried it for the first time. Like Rax tried it, and I mean it's just a really fun. I mean it really is. I think if you're someone who played it back in the day, it's probably gonna bring back so many memories for you. And before I go, one more thing that I did just remember I forgot to mention earlier. Another really big change they made is they improved monster density significantly. It's much better. So not only does that make it cleaner, right? I mean, they had to adjust the XP and whatnot, otherwise you'd just be over leveling and stuff. But I mean, it just feels better when you're killing more monsters. Man, that's the whole point, right? So they kept that, kind of keep that flow going, and it's very noticeable. And I know this is the case because I found my first Sir and my first Bear rune last season. If you can believe it, of all the hours I played in D2, I never dropped those runes, right? I still haven't found a Jaw, a Cham, or a Zod, but I found them both last season, and I thought, did they increase the rune drop rates? And I did some research into it, and apparently no, they did not. They didn't change the drop rates at all, but they did improve monster density so that it's kind of like you're playing on, like, I think it was players like 4, or was it 5? Maybe, was it 5 on solo or something like that? It's basically the equivalent of playing on a higher player count. With in D2 with the drop rates, that's when you play on higher player counts, there's more items that drop. But because of the monster density, they increased it. It's essentially like playing like that on solo all the time. So, wow, I was like, that is amazing. I love that. Feels good to keep playing it like that, and yeah. Okay, I've been ranting too much, so I'm going to stop this video now. Thanks for listening in. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourself first, and then your friends and family around you, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.